Warning, censorship. Warning, censorship.
What did we learn from this anti-lockdown protest? Well, I think we learned that the priorities of Mayor Mary French were completely skewed. She declared a state of emergency, thinking that these people who engaged in a peaceful protest were going to be violent. The only vulgarity and vandalism and violence that we experienced was on this side of the street by the pro-lockdown protesters.
I have a hard time not killing stupid people.
By the people that support more government and support more lockdowns and basically support more misery. David Menzies for Rebel News here in Aylmer, Ontario. And folks, I can tell you a large demonstration has come to this little town of 7,500. They are anti-lockdown protesters. And let me tell you, the local politicians, the health authorities, and some in law enforcement are not happy about it. Indeed, Mayor Mary French actually declared a state of an emergency, even though there is no emergency ongoing right now. And I don't think with the peaceful protesters clamoring for an end to the lockdowns, I don't think it's going to materialize. It's kind of like the Tom Cruise movie, Minority Report. Mary French is with the pre-crimes unit of Aylmer, Ontario, it would seem. And other politicians in other jurisdictions are not happy with this rally either. There was a CBC report that interviewed London Mayor Ed Holder. And Mayor Holder said he hopes that, quote, no one from London attends this rally and that no one from London opens their home to people who choose to attend this rally, end quote. Well, isn't that kind of fascinating? Because get a load of this, folks. Back on August the 29th, the City of London had a Black Lives Matter rally, and the politicians there didn't try to dissuade anyone away from it. In fact, there were a couple of city councillors that attended and made speeches at the Black Lives Matter London, Ontario rally. So I don't know. I guess this Wuhan virus, it's incredibly intelligent and incredibly self-aware. It'll back off when it comes to, I guess, a demonstration for racial justice, but it will attack those who want economic freedom and turn itself into something as contagious as the Ebola virus. Now, I'm going to wander into this crowd and find out what it is that's brought them out to Aylmer, Ontario today. Now, you may notice that I am not speaking into my typical Rebel News microphone. And there is a good reason for that, folks. I was across the street en route to this demonstration. There was a counter-protest. It looked peaceful. And you know what? I found out the hard way. It wasn't. Check out what I encountered. Someone just told me, sir, that they heard you yelling at the protesters that you wished for them to die. Is that true?
I cut the dog a little bit and she was sniffing them. If they want to wear a mask, they get disease. I guess that's what they're looking for then, isn't it?
Oh, okay. I mean, if this is
dying from the virus, are people dying from the virus? Answer me that. Yeah, you answer me that. Are they dying from the virus?
Yes, but I guess when you
look, want to catch it because they're not wearing a mask.
It's that microphone. Actually, this morning, sir. But
this morning?
Yes.
You're not with the plan either, are you?
Okay, so
where's your mask? Where's your mask? Don't get anywhere near me with that thing.
Okay. Well, you interrupted me, sir. So I'm just trying to give you some time.
I didn't interrupt you. I asked you a question.
Yeah. Well, I was doing an interview. So are you with?
Point that thing at me.
Are you kidding me? Is he with the radio station? Yeah. Well, I
have a hard time not killing stupid people.
Really? You have a hard time not killing stupid people.
I do. Wow. It's all I can do not to. This argument, he like he says, you want to believe what you believe, you believe. I don't give a
Sorry, what was that, man?
Wear your f***ing mask.
Wear my effing mask?
Yeah, that's what I said.
That's not fucking distance.
Hey,
I wanted to do it. Get away from me. I wanted you to. Get away from me. I've never done it.
Yeah, so once again, the love trumps hate crowd is anything but that. It is all about advocating and even using violence, physical violence, vandalism to get their way. We're going to follow up on that thug. You mark my words, folks, if the police here in Aylmer are not going to do anything about it, because this is someone, I guess, who advocates the mayor's position, we will go forward with a private prosecution. So in the meantime, let's see what's bringing some of these people out to this demonstration.
What Pastor Henry did when he was the first person that we knew of in all of Canada to stand up and say, hey, you're going to give me a fine of $880? And he said, is that all? That's it?
So, sir, I see you have a sign that says Doug Ford is a liar, and that looks like the logo of the line. What has he lied about lately?
Well, I think at this point we've lost track because we can't even keep track of Doug Ford anymore. One day he wants to shut restaurants down, the next day he doesn't. One day he's for businesses, the next day he's obsessed with the healthcare people. What I would like to see is a press conference where Doug Ford actually has a press conference and doesn't say, I defer to the chief medical officer of health. Because if that's the case, they should be elected the chief medical officers of health. And it's not acceptable just to say that I'm not a chief medical officer of health. You, sir, make the final decision. You're the leader of the province. If not, hand over the reins to Dr. Williams.
I'm a grandmother. I'm not afraid of dying. I'd rather see my grandchildren grow up and have a great time going to school, learning things, going out to play.
We're going by the facts. We're going by the science. I trust science. I trust validated research, right? And that's all we're doing. And that right now, the problem with people is they'd rather be deceived than to admit that they've been deceived, right? Because otherwise they'd have to admit that the last 8 months, we've simply been living a lie.
Hi, sir. Your sign begs the question, why does your wife hate you?
Well, it's because I'm here with a bunch of irresponsible people who are defying the government. And it's embarrassing to this town, and I'm disgusted by it.
Oh, so you're part of the counter-protest that's,
I suppose. I guess you could call it that, sure.
And I guess, is your clown costume, is that a statement on what?
I wanted to blend in with the crowd here. So, I figured I'd come out in regalia.
I'm just wondering, is there any particular grudge you have with this other side that is anti-lockdown? I know when you talk to them, they say that so many of these virus lockdowns are maybe doing more harm than good. The number.
Yeah. The lockdown's a difficult thing. I understand how difficult it is. My wife was out of work for 3 months. I was lucky enough to work from home. I understand they're frustrated. I get it. I do not think that we need to go into another one. But that said, I supported the original one, and I support the public health measures.
And do you trust the various governments in terms of the advice they're giving to people?
For the most part. I'm a bit disappointed that it was a bit wishy-washy. They have gone back and forth, like at the beginning, about masks. But I think they're doing their best.
I got to tell you, folks, with all the customization of masks, I looked at this gentleman. I said, my God, that looks like an actual human beard. And then I got a little closer. It is a beard. Hey, is this working? Is this mask fooling anyone, sir?
This makes everybody happy, right? It makes the people feel safe. And, I got a mask on. I'm compliant now. So it's working out for everyone.
It works for me. It works for the store owners. Like, they see I have a mask and they do not know what to answer to this.
Now, what is your sign, sir? COVID-19 lost its power. Doug Fraud took it all. Now we have a test pandemic. Forgive me. So what is a test pandemic?
Well, the tests that are taken these days, they are worth nothing. What are they really testing? They do not test the COVID. They test something. Even old vaccine residues are tested as positive. Yeah, so everybody who has been injected with a vaccine, they also test positive.
And this is a very important point, I think, because we keep hearing the fearmongers say, record COVID-19 positive cases day by day. And yet I think the only statistic that really matters is the number of deaths from the virus. And when you look worldwide at the total, it's basically the total of a very bad flu season, isn't it?
Correct. And if you look at the mortality statistics, they are no different than any other years.
Well, folks, as the sun begins to set on Aylmer, The protest is winding down. The hundreds of protesters have formed a convoy. They went into town. They did a victory lap, and now they're returning to the recreation center. And what did we learn from this anti-lockdown protest? Well, I think we learned that the priorities of Mayor Mary French were completely skewed. She declared a state of emergency, thinking that these people who engaged in a peaceful protest were going to be violent, as if these people asking for an end to the lockdowns were going to be like the Antifa types throwing rocks and Molotov cocktails, when, as you saw earlier in the report, the only vulgarity and vandalism and violence that we experienced was on this side of the street by the pro-lockdown protesters, by the people that support more government and support more lockdowns and basically support more misery. It was the counter-protesters who chant slogans like "Love trumps hate." They're the first ones to throw a haymaker. Funny that. For Rebel News, I'm David the Menzoid Menzies. Hey folks, do any of you know who assaulted me in Aylmer last Saturday? If so, please go to findthethug.com. Let us know. First one who reveals his identity gets a check for $500.